Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Holly Hour, brought to you by the Sky Lounge in Tea, XL Chiropractic, and Quality Nails. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment Conversations and has been recognized by the Sioux Falls Stage Awards with a special distinction for promoting the arts. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Welcome, everybody. Such a pleasure to speak with you once again if you're a regular listener, or to those of you joining the first time, welcome. It's great to have you along. This here show is about Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment Conversations. We talk to the creatives, and today we have a couple of great creative minds here on episode number 79. Coming up in a few minutes, we'll be speaking with Ryan Fossum. He's an improver. He does some of the interactive dinner theaters and murder mysteries, and then he also happens to be a singer and guitar player. We talked to him about the whole schmear, and then later in the show, talk about playing for the whole schmear. That could be a band that this man could be in. He's in Spoon Cat. He's also one of the Hegg brothers, and he plays in a variety of different things. Jeremy Hegg will be along, and we will talk about, basically everything from baseball to music to radio voice. You'll find out. Just stick with it, and you'll know exactly what we are talking about. But first, let's make sure we get this party underway. Time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day, and your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near, and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party. Oh, I have the feeling there's going to be a lot of partying going on here. If not this weekend, then probably the next. And then, of course, we'll get into Memorial Day later on at the end of the month. Graduation season is upon us. So let's toast all the graduates. Congratulations, whether you are graduating from high school, whether you are graduating from higher education. Make sure that you graduate properly by, first of all, getting it done, get that diploma signed. But to also want to make sure that if you are going to be partying for that you do so carefully. You know, I talk about every week that, you know, whatever time of the day you're listening might be a different drink of choice for you, and to toast with a cup of coffee, with a glass of milk, or maybe it's a can of soda pop. For me, when I put this show together the night before, it is a Jack Daniels Diet Coke with a lime. But remember, when I talk about that also means I'm doing it in my very own home studio. So please be careful, stay safe, but congratulations, all of you that happen to be graduating from one thing or another, or you're the parent of someone graduating, go, whew, finally. All right. You know, so that's just one of the things that we do on a weekly basis. Another thing that we happen to have is called Honorable Mention. And Honorable Mention goes out to something or someone or someplace or whatever that kind of made Dave giggle or laugh, and this one just came to me on Wednesday. Many of you are aware that I happen to be involved in another podcast called the Midtown Coffee Radio Hour. Well, Zach Dresch, who does the opening and the close for this show, is a very talented drummer. He, however, has an incredibly busy schedule coming up with his comedy and a band that he happens to be involved in. So the group right now is looking for a drummer. Well, on Wednesday afternoon, I see on Instagram that Nick Jackson, the musical director of Midtown Coffee Radio Hour, said that we are looking for a drummer, and it's Nick's picture in the meantime was him, with a little, very colorful child's toy. And he said that we needed this because if we don't get a drummer soon, then you have to put up with Dave Holly doing the beatbox. Yeah, so that was what made me laugh and giggle this week. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that, but you ought to see me play spoons, buddy. All right. Let's keep this applause going because we've got a couple of great creatives coming your way here in just a moment. We have Ryan Fossum, and then later in the show, it is Mr. Jeremy Hegg. That is what is ahead on the Dave Holly Hour.
Sure, they have darts, and you've heard me talk about how ruggedly handsome the trivia host is, but all caps fun never stops at the Sky Lounge and Tea. And fun is best had with your friends enjoying live entertainment, as in live and local. Yeah, the Sky Lounge believes in giving you the best bands, solo artists, and comedians from the area. The Neo Johnsons, Elizabeth Hunstead, Skylar Volks, as well as many others. And a great staff will make sure you enjoy your fun at the Sky Lounge in Tea, South Dakota.
People ask him where he got his top shelf voice. Dime store. Bargain bin. Once again, here is Dave Holly.
Welcome back to the Dave Holly Hour, everybody. Oh, you know what I like to say? Oh, it's so great on a Thursday to get to talk to great people. And such is the case, especially today, because not just a great entertainer, not just a fun guy to hang around. He also bought beer today, so that's a good thing. But he's also a great friend, and we've been hanging out for, 15 years maybe now?
Maybe more.
Maybe more. Okay. Yeah.
From the Blank Slate days.
Blank Slate Improv. We've been part of 3 different improv troupes with basically all the same people.
It's very true. Mm-hmm. And it spanned quite a few years.
Yeah.
We're lucky to still be in the same area and
that's true.
Still be, entertaining.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you what has been fun is I look back at different pictures and so forth. There's one of you, me, Toby, and Tom Kamdekars. We had done a corporate show for Christmas up in the Holiday Inn.
Yep.
And
the Starlight Room.
Yeah, the Starlight Room. And it's a black and white of the 4 of us. I just love that.
Yeah. It was a great time. It was a great show. At that point, we hadn't
performed together in a long time.
Yeah, at least 9 months, maybe a year. And we just took to it like fish to water.
Yeah, jump right back in and get to it and so forth. And so that's how we first met, was through improv.
Yeah.
And we've also been in a couple of, some of the, let's see.
Finnegan's.
Finnegan's Farewell. We've been in some of the murder mysteries and so forth. And
Tony and Tina's.
Tony and Tina's. We were doing that together. So we've had a lot of fun acting together besides. That's right. Vinny Black, the Cadillac caterers. The Palace. So what got you interested in doing that?
Oh, boy. Well, originally it was something that I did a lot in high school. I was in speech. I was in one-act plays. I was in regular plays. And it just turned out that actually one of my friends that at the time went to school at Augustana by the name of Jesse Domino. He had played Dominic at Tony and Tina's. And
typecast.
He very much is, because you know him. And he was like, hey, I think you'd be really good at this. He's like, you should try out for the interactive plays, the dinner theaters. And I said, really? What do we have to do? And he's like, oh, just show up at the Oaks at such and such a time.
Well, that's taking us back a while.
Yeah,
the Oaks. Fun times.
Yes. But and then all from there it was downhill.
No, I would say it's been uphill for you, brother. Yeah, it's
a battle. Fighting myself.
Yeah, up and down. It's the roller coaster. We're riding the waves. Sorry, Mom, I just took your words from Mother's Day that you were talking about. Oh yeah. We'll talk off air about that one.
To all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, we're making it Mother's Day week now.
It has to be.
That's what we did.
It
because,
really should.
We went down to see her.
Yes.
Took her keg chicken.
Yeah.
Took her some little 7-ounce Coronas, and because she loves small beers, because that's just enough for her, and so We forgot to take the card. We had it. We forgot to take it. So now it's being mailed. So now she's going to get it in a few days. So we just said that we're extending it to Mother's Day week.
It's an addition.
Yeah. So that...
Why not spread that out?
She can ride that wave a little bit more.
It's almost like it's Hanukkah. There's many days.
We're gonna light the light. Get the oil out. And well, gosh, that takes me back to one of my characters that I played, Max.
Oh, yes, Max Goldstein. Yes.
Attorney at law.
Not to be pedantic.
It was $2.2 million.
Still got it in the old chamber.
Yeah, in fact, I wish we would do that one again.
I loved Finnegan's.
That was a great, great show.
Even if it's not St. Patty's Day, that was always
a very fun one to do, no doubt about that. But so you got started early, no doubt about that. And we should really explain a little bit to people about, like Tony and Tina's wedding. Quite a few obviously have seen them. Finnegan's Farewell is another one. They're called the interactive dinner theaters, where, yes, you have a script book that you get, but you don't have a whole bunch of lines that you have to memorize, which is, really good at my age. And the rest of it, you make up as your character all throughout the night in the interaction with the people that are there for the quote-unquote wedding or Finnegan's, the quote-unquote funeral.
Which they're the same, Dave. Let's just...
some people will say that.
I'm just kidding.
Or at least 50%. I think that's a national statistic.
Yes, very true.
But we've had a lot of fun doing that. And then the murder mysteries, it's even less that we have to memorize.
Right.
And we get to play up so much more. So, what do you feel when we do that type of show, whether it's, the interactive or it's the murder mystery style? What do you feel you bring to the table, especially as someone that has done a lot of improv?
I hate to admit it, but I'm kind of a disruptor. I kind of like to go in there and shake it up and then run away while it's all burning to the ground a little bit. There was a year that Toby and John wanted me to be the photographer, and he had no lines. And apparently John Bronick had been this character in prior years, and he told me it's such a great character, so on and so forth. I think he was trying to take the sting out of how him and Toby said I was going to be the new Tony, and they're like, oh, you'll like this character way better. And it was great. I mean, I had all sorts of fun. I really messed with people. But like I said, I think part of it is also not only having fun, messing with people, bringing little one-liners or amusing, but it's also, if you were doing something at a table and you were kind of swimming for air and I could see that, or other way around, or if I was at a table and I wasn't doing so hot, you could come over and save me and say, hey, Dominic, we need you over here, or something, and that's kind of the spirit of it. It is very improv based. And it's very much, you're there to lift everybody else around you up. So I think that's really a fun part of it as well, is having not only your character be out there, but also enriching someone else's character. So
with that on the resume so much, would you ever consider doing a full play again, fully scripted?
Yeah, it's been a while, and I was even way back before I started the dinner theaters with Toby and John, was approached to do Worthing well before John Bowe took over, and I just didn't have the time, and I couldn't work that many or practice that many nights.
Right, because they put their work in down there at the Old Town for sure.
Oh yeah, they have it down pat. They've been to nationals many times for the plays.
I tell you what, speaking of that, we were at their last one, Exit Laughing.
Right.
Literally slapping my knee with laughter. It was so well done.
Right.
Yeah, and great stuff.
Got to hit those beats. Well, and actually, as a matter of fact, I've been talking to Toby Kane about the possibility of us kicking those back off, whether it be Finnegan's or whether it be Tony and Tina's. So, knock on wood that there's...
there's none at this table here.
No, but hopefully we can maybe start that off again. If
that would be excellent if we could.
It would be fun.
Those were such a blast, no doubt about that. In the meantime, one of the things we've done the most together with would be the improv and so forth. Most lately of Basement Dwellers, of which I have taken a hiatus because I really wanted to get this thing going, the podcast and so forth, and get to talking to people and spread the word about all the entertainment and arts taking place around the Sioux Empire. I know that you guys have been basically kind of silent because of COVID over the past, getting close to a year?
Actually, we did an outdoor show at Terrace Park.
That's right.
And that was
September or October?
September. Yeah, like mid-September.
But
and that
with November weather.
It was pretty cool, and everybody was told to bring blankets. But we did a show outdoors, and it worked really well. We just really had to project. But that was the last time. And then in the last month, we've been talking about it. We've had, I think, 2 practices.
Okay.
But we're getting back to it. So
Good.
Hopefully, knock on wood again.
Yeah.
No wood in sight.
No.
That comes to
Formica,
fruition.
metal, aluminum.
Concrete. No
Glass.
wood. Glass. Knock on glass.
And now they think we're, waving to her. Oh. Well, actually, she's one of the owners of Agua Fresh.
Well,
so, they take care of me quite often, too, down here.
I would hope so.
But today, let's, before we continue, that's the clink of wood grain.
And a classic beer.
Mm-hmm. You are having the what?
I am having the Disco Series, which is a barrel-aged Imperial IPA.
Okay.
And you were having the
Drunk Scotsman.
Oh, I love a wee heavy.
Yeah, during the pandemic, Carrie and I got very much into binge watching. Yeah,
sure.
Outlander was a big one.
And you know what? Nothing goes better with binge watching than getting a growler.
Oh, no doubt.
And sitting down.
Good stuff. Except this one's a nitro, so they can't do it in a growler.
Oh, true.
Oh, but, such is life, alas. All right. So when it comes to improv, getting back on the scene, you got a projected date or anything yet?
We've got a couple places that we want to play and that have invited us. We're going to do a show in Fairmont, Minnesota. It's a paid show. It's for a family reunion. And then we're also, that always proves to be fun because they're always half in the bag and they're ready to laugh anyways.
Well, and the storylines that you can get from them,
right,
even about their family.
A little bit of inside information, and you can exploit that. And even though you're quote unquote exploiting people, they love it. Yeah. They love to have someone in the family being the butt of the joke, and they all are very well, about those kind of things. But also, we're probably going to be going back to Monk's, spoke to them, and then maybe even across the street at Sellers, that new place that's in that strip mall.
Covert?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Where are you going to perform at Monk's with that, the reconfiguration and so forth?
It might have to be, as you remember, we were on that west wall. We're probably going to have to be on that north wall and just kind of work with those 3 beams that are right in the middle, because now where we played, that's, pretty much booth space. So, and who knows, maybe if we could maybe move in that other corner, kind of where the couches were,
right,
that might work too. So I don't know, depending on what kind of turnouts we get, it could be either. So it's kind of going to be a trial and error type situation to see how it works.
But that's the thing about improv. It's not just that you can perform anything; you can perform anywhere.
Anywhere.
Too. Yeah.
We've played outside. You and I
we did.
have played out here a couple times at Wood Grain. We played indoors at Wood Grain.
On Saturday nights in the summer when the motorcycles would go by
and
fire engines
honking horns and yelling, and it makes for a lively audience.
If someone wanted to get into improv, what would you suggest they do? What path do they need to take?
There is the book that is, and it's of course gonna escape me, but it's The Art of Comedy, and it's by it's like pretty much the inventor back in the old days, back in the 50s and whatnot. And I can't remember who the author is, but there's a couple of them. That's a great read. That kind of gives you an idea. But then also just, you and I have probably sat down and watched Who's Line many times.
Endless, right.
Yeah. Or
observation is still one of the best teachers of all.
Oh, very much so. I mean, even if you're completely making it up and it's fabricated, even observations and pointing out things that aren't quite, physically there, always improve a story. Description is the mother of comedy, so it always works out in your favor when you get a little bit more specific.
Right. And when you get into improv and you're playing the different games and so forth, there's such a wide variety. What's your favorite out of the games?
Oh boy, I think I know what your favorite is. It's either the book or the typewriter.
The book is by far my favorite.
And you're very astute about pulling the right sentences at the right moment. I like New Choice.
That, you know what? It's funny you bring that up. Yesterday, all day long, I would say something, and then I'd just to myself do New Choice, and I would do 3 or 4 of them in a row with almost everything that I said yesterday.
That's, you know what? And that's a great thing in life, is to not pick the obvious choice. Because if you keep doing things the same way, not only does your life become mundane and boring,
go ahead and hit the table with your water bottle.
But it becomes, you're kind of breaking that continuum. You're kind of breaking that normality. You're doing you're rolling the dice. You're making a different outcome. And I think that in everyone's life is not only something that we should all strive for, but it's also a welcomed exercise. And if you do that with yourself, it's very healthy and very therapeutic. I think.
And very good for you professionally too. Mm-hmm. If you can, the more you can think on your feet, think about your interview skills then.
Right.
When you're getting drilled for a nice big paycheck,
sure,
and so forth, and you're able to come up with not only another answer, but a better answer, and hopefully the best answer that they're looking for. To have abilities like that, that's going to carry you a long way in life.
Oh, definitely. And I hope that the future generations don't keep relying on looking things up or for entertaining themselves going to their phones or going to an iPad. I really hope that that continual culmination of having fun, making things up, bringing different ideas to life. That's kind of the fun stuff and when you're really living.
Well, and
in the moment,
even just being around family and so forth.
Right.
To have a little fun and make things more interesting in conversations.
I come up with lies all the time from my family.
It's like Mike Henriksen, who I love. He's a great guy. First of all, his favorite thing to say is live music is great for the soul. And we're going to talk about music in just a moment with you as well. But when we used to work at Kello AM together, and the program director would be gone, and he would be the acting program director, and it would go out, to everybody in the corporation that he was the acting, and then he'd retort back by, remember, acting means pretend.
It's true. Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. We get to pretend on so many things, on so many levels. It's fantastic. But, the one thing that I can't pretend to be is a guitarist. You, however, can claim to be a guitarist.
Not a very good one.
Oh, come on. I have seen you perform.
I've played solo.
Yeah.
I really should hone those skills because it's therapeutic. It's just like running or doing any other activity where, you kind of have that inner peace when you're doing it, and it's almost like meditating, when you're doing those things and you're kind of playing along and you're not really thinking about things and it's just happening and you're feeling in the moment. I think that's a really great thing, and everybody should have one. And I'm sure you do with this show, because you get to talk to people for hours at a time. You get to find out different aspects. You get deeper friendships with people.
Exactly. Yeah,
and it's wonderful.
Because I'm up over, I think I'm at about 160 different guests now.
Oh.
This is episode 79. So it's been great in that regard. Yeah, there have been a few that have been on a few times and so forth. But
Sure.
Still, we try to keep it fresh. It keeps me fresh at 58 years old.
Right.
And it's led to so many other things for me, too.
Yeah.
And the friendships that have spurred from it are just fantastic. The friendships that are regained and keep momentum throughout the time frame. Because I remember, you were one of the first. In fact, you might have been the first review of the show that I ever had on Apple.
I might have been.
I think you were.
I mean, it's really fun to listen to the show because the one thing about it is you're never going to hit the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can listen to other podcasts and you're like, oh, this is kind of a carbon copy of the last. Well, being an interview show and you're interviewing artists all the time, all those people are so eclectically different.
True.
That you're never going to ever have two shows, even if you had like a pianist and a painter. If you had two episodes with both those kind of people, they're going to be vastly different.
Right. And the things you find out from the backstories as well.
Right.
I think that has been great because, you mentioned the visual arts and artist, and the first one that I had on, you started off wanting to do photography for fine art. And then just decided he wanted to sit down in one spot and create all these beautiful works of art of landscapes and buildings and Sioux Falls and so forth. And
Yeah.
just
I can't believe you got Bob Ross on here.
Actually, let's throw out a little closed circuit to everybody. If you are a Bob Ross type artist or know of a Bob Ross type artist, please email me, and then I can get you in touch with somebody that's looking for that. Probably for, I don't know necessarily how big of a paid gig or something, but maybe something fun this summer. I'll leave it at that.
That's a good dangling participle.
Yes, it is. Hey, Rodney Dangerfield had one of those.
I didn't know you had one of those. Hey. Oh.
All right, so obviously you love music.
Oh, very much so.
And you play guitar. Have you played any other instruments?
I've played mandolin. I can play bass. I actually learned to play a lot of my piano that I play by ear. And then also just learning different chords, but I'm not very fluent. I mean, if I had a piano for a couple of years, I could probably just sit down and really get to the meat of that. But that's a much fun, like just the way that it's just linear. A guitar is not very linear. It goes, by 7 steps and, just all over the place. But a piano is pretty much laid out in front of you. So that's always kind of a very interesting endeavor, which scares me. So I should probably do it.
I think you should.
I should probably.
Well, the thing that I know about you is if you decide to do that, you're going to get into it.
Yeah. Yep.
You will study it. You will
head first.
Yeah. You will go all the way into that and make it work one way or another. And think of how marketable that'll make you then.
Head first.
Yeah. In fact, that could be your company, Head First.
That's probably what it should be. I mean, if I think about it, no
innuendos?
punches pulled.
Oh, you know what an innuendo is anyway, don't you? It's an Italian suppository.
Oh,
yeah.
I've had one of those before.
That was one of the first jokes my late uncle ever told me. It's an innuendo. It's an Italian suppository. That was my mother's brother, and right now she's cringing.
Oh.
David, you told that story.
But you know what? What a better way to remember people.
Exactly. By laughter.
Because, and telling stories.
Yep.
Even if it's awkward or a weird story, it's still...
Well, the thing is, and this came up when my father passed away 3 years ago. Mom was so good about it. She says, she says, we got to get ready for that whole line of, I'm so sorry. My deepest sympathies. Oh, my condolences. She says, I want to hear something about the man.
Right.
And it was so great because that next morning, family was getting together. We were down at Sunshine in Rock Rapids and having breakfast together. And the manager of Sunshine, Ron Rice, came up to me, and he had been in Kiwanis with my dad for many, many years. And Dad, up until, he had to go to the home, was a song leader.
Oh.
And so that's what Ron told me about. He says, I will always remember your dad being the song leader and the enthusiasm that he had for Kiwanis. And I was like, thank you.
Right.
That's what I wanted to hear.
And you would have never known that per se.
Right.
And now you know where you get your golden pipes from.
Well, he was more a tenor. I'm a baritone.
I understand that, but you didn't just wander into a wonderfully rich voice without having a father that could speak well.
Well, and that's the thing. I always tell people that I'm the 50-50 blend of two parents. Mm-hmm. My father taught me how to speak in public.
Yeah.
Taught me how to stand up and be able to make that speech without being afraid. Learned from him singing and his enjoyment from it. And then the creative side, that's all from the Silzer side of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my mom's side that everything came along.
But see, if you can recognize that, that's a great thing. Because
True.
I kind of know where I kind of got my humorous side from, but and that was from my Uncle Ron, who he died of leukemia when I was like 12.
Oh.
And he'd always, when we were at the pool, he'd always have his sunglasses on, and he'd be like, "This is why I wear sunglasses, because the girls can't see when I'm watching them." And so he was always I've
noticed you have quite a
hilarious.
collection of sunglasses.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
that's a good thing.
And hey,
Thanks, Uncle Ron. See, there
I
could be your
appreciate
sunglass company, Uncle Ron's Sunglasses.
Uncle Ron sunglasses.
We got two companies already made up.
Heads first.
We are ready to go.
Head first and Uncle Ron's.
Are you looking to get some gigs singing and playing again?
Yeah, actually, I was gonna bring that up. That me and a friend, Nate Olson, a couple years ago, it was probably 6 years ago, we had an alternative band with Toby Kane, Chris Sandvig, Steve Sandvig, Chris Liso, Nate Olson, and I, and we played. We had about 3.5 hours of just 90s alternative, just really fun rock, anything from Pearl Jam to Weezer to Nirvana, whatever. And we're going to try to get back into that. We've got right now a 2-man band, but we're going to try to keep adding on and
Excellent.
growing that and bringing that back, because I just think that with everything that's happened as far as COVID, this is kind of what people need. They need to get out. They need to, because it's going to be way too easy for people to withdraw back into their lives, withdraw back into streaming movies and not going to a movie theater, or having that cynical view of the world. A lot of times when things change, people don't react so well to it. So I think it's just another great reason to keep people out, to get people out, to have that experience of live music, because nothing's quite the same as live music. There's overproduced recorded music.
Oh.
But live music, as you know,
anybody can make anything.
As we said before, live music is
good for the soul.
It's good for the soul.
No doubt about that. And looking forward to when you get back playing live music.
I appreciate it.
Yes,
yeah, that would be great.
I will be your first patron.
I will buy you a beer.
Okay.
At that time.
We're getting close to having another one here in just a few minutes, but always like to end with the two standard questions. First of all being, when you're not being an entertainer, what do you like to be entertained by?
Oh, boy. There has been a lot of stand-up comedy on Netflix, which I thoroughly enjoy. I don't know about you, but I know you like to laugh.
That I do.
There's been a lot of great stand-up there. I just actually watched a movie because Corona was happening and it never got released in theaters. It's called Buddy Games.
Okay.
Buddy Games, and it's got Josh Duhamel.
All right.
A North Dakota boy.
Yeah.
Nick Swartzen, who's a Minnesota boy, Minneapolis boy. And then Dax Shepard, Kevin Dillon, Olivia Munn. It's on Hulu right now.
Okay.
And it's by far the funniest movie I've seen in the last year.
No kidding. Well, I will be watching that one.
But
that goes on the list.
Yeah, put that on the list. Other than that, to be entertained, you know what? I'm going to sound like I'm an adult child, but I like to play Call of Duty a lot.
Really?
I probably play, on average, anywhere from 12 to 18 hours a week.
Okay. At least you said a week. If you were going to say that 12 to 18 hours a day, it's like, oh, come on.
Right.
Do we need an intervention, my friend?
We quite possibly do.
All right. So then the final question for you then is any other hobbies?
Yeah, I mean, there's hobbies that that everybody loves, and there's many shops that are around the nation that are focused on this home improvement. So and doing anything from lawn to doing siding to repainting to caulking small areas that need to get filled. That's not. Don't insert your own joke here, please. And
Biting my tongue.
But just that kind of stuff,
Right.
that gives you kind of a good feeling when you get stuff accomplished. Sure. And, it gets harder and harder when, everything's inflated cost-wise in our environment, and, inflation's just crazy. So the idea of owning your own house is insane. So less and less people do it. More and more
Right.
people are renting. The rich get richer, and there's a great sense of well-being when you can actually do something, improve something, make something your own. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, well, we go with the since we rent, we're of that mindset right now of better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Sure.
Yeah,
and
just do it.
And just go in and rip
we've
things
been there
out.
13 years and probably will be for another 13.
Hey man, I mean, do it what you got to
Yeah.
do. And I'm going to say right now, I full-heartedly agree with the whole asking for forgiveness, because right now I'm going to do something. If anybody out there is interested in improv, please contact us. Of course, we're on Facebook. We have our own website, thebasementdwellers.com. Get a hold of us. Get a hold of Toby. Get a hold of me, Toby Kane, Ryan Fossum. Even get a hold of Dave.
Oh, yeah. Even though I'm not performing with you guys.
Close friends.
We're all great friends, and we'll certainly pass things along to you. In fact, I
that's
have
great.
something to talk to you about in just a moment.
I appreciate that.
All right. One more cheers, my friend, then we'll go get refreshed here with our beverages. Thank you so much, Ryan Fossum. It's been a pleasure. I love you, brother.
Thank you for having me, Dave. I love you very much. Honestly, I'd go to the moon and back for you. And,
Likewise.
I love you.
Love you too. And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment. Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Tooney know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at XL Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation, 605-332-9235 or xlchiros.com. Excellent care for excellent people. XL Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
The Dave Holly Hour. Like eavesdropping on a great conversation between two very interesting people.
Welcome back to the Dave Holly Hour, everybody. I tell you what, the guest list just always increases in depth and perspective and anything else that can make this man smile and giggle a little bit. From the Hegg brothers, from Spoon Cat, from a whole bunch of different trios and groups that play jazz around town. Jeremy Hegg, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so delighted that we chatted for how many minutes before you turned
we
on,
did.
and then all of a sudden the radio voice emerges. Oh, it hit me like, well, whatever cliche you want to pick.
True.
There's a ton of bricks.
Yeah, and I always love the one when the people say, "Oh, where did you get that voice?" Oh, yeah. Oh, Walmart.
Well, that's how
$29.95 was on the top shelf.
Do people realize that it's a practicable trade or a skill? It's something
Exactly,
that you
yeah.
work on, you improve at it.
True.
How to address a crowd is an important role in performing, too. It's part of the practice.
Learning how to speak, or in your case, sing from the diaphragm.
Like for the holiday show, I'll
Yeah.
plan what I'm going to say.
Right.
So it doesn't sound scripted. That still means there's improv that happens,
Exactly.
of course, but I need to make sure I introduce everybody. There needs to be acknowledgments for people that are paying for things. You have to get practice in at that, too.
Yeah, because the best improv is what you've already practiced.
Yeah, and it comes
That's
from
been said many, many times.
Yeah, it comes from your own experiences as well.
That's for sure. How you been?
Not bad.
Good. And that's good to say at this point, too. Well, I don't know if we can officially say post-pandemic yet, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. The signs are good, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And I like those signs, too. But, one of the things is you at least stayed busy through this. You, I know that, Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues is close to both of our hearts.
Yeah.
And when this hit and it was like, oh, gosh, are we going to be able to see anybody and so forth? You and John jumped on board pretty quickly at our wine bar.
Yeah.
Thanks to Ricardo for doing everything that he does to keep things going in this town.
Agreed.
And you were able to perform virtually, but at least you were there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the first few times we performed, they were different. I mean, it was different to perform. It was missed. It was rewarding. You don't take these things for granted when they go away for a long stretch of time. And so there's probably a different perspective there.
Yeah.
All of that has led to some good music, and it's fun to set up shop there every Friday.
Yeah, and you and your brother are doing that, but then you're also there
sometimes on
fairly
Thursdays.
Regularly on Thursdays, amongst a variety of trios and ensembles and so forth. So you obviously are keeping busy. The one thing I did want to ask, because the first time that you were on this show, and you were one of the early guests as well.
This makes me very happy.
Yes, and one of the things that was fun about that was the fact that at that point you had basically just started a cover band, a Steely Dan cover band. Did that make it through the pandemic? Where are you with that now?
I just sat there through the pandemic.
Okay.
It turns out that now, after the pandemic, well, as of today, those songs still sound the same as they did 2 years ago. So yes, we can still do that.
It's still marketable.
And that's what I was working on today. I was redoing and improving our chart for Asia, the song off of that album of the same name from 1977. We're doing it again.
Excellent.
We need to find a place to do it in Sioux Falls.
Right,
because those
that
dates
was pretty
got
much
canceled.
Omaha, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's Omaha people, and we're going back down. We have a couple dates lined up in the fall.
Okay.
It's hard to get 9 people who all perform a lot in different things to have an open date. So we need to look pretty far, usually 3 or 4 months in advance, to have any chance at getting everybody together. But we're going to have a few options here this year. That's good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And look forward to that. I know that, my calendar looks jumbled. I can only imagine what, when you're trying to coordinate 9 different people, looks like.
Yeah, and it only takes, it's not that everyone's crazy busy yet. There's still a lot of fallout from how things have been shut down or aren't fully open or they've changed their patterns.
Yeah.
But it just takes, we need all 9 people. I mean, we can't really sub out these spots very easily. So we need to go 9 for 9.
Okay.
Sometimes we've gone 7 for 9 or 8 for 9. We can all be
much like a baseball team, which we'll get to talking about later, of course.
We are?
Yeah, we'll talk baseball.
Okay.
I know you're a big Twins fan.
I know.
Yeah. And neither one of our teams is doing great. Mine at least kind of came back this past week. Got to 500. So
that's maybe the saddest version of rubbing it in my face that I've ever heard. Wow.
Well,
they did.
One thing I can't rub in your face is that, it's too bad you don't play a little better. My goodness gracious, the family that you came from has the most immense talent when it comes to jazz and music in general.
That's kind of you to say.
Well, it's true, though. I mean, people, it's one thing if you say, hey, we're going to go down and see these guys called the Hegg Brothers, or we're going to go out and see this band called Spoon Cat, or, whatever you guys happen to be playing in at the moment and so forth.
Yeah.
But when you mention the Hegg Brothers and people go, oh, yeah, they're great, that's different. Because it's not that you guys are, trying to make your way through it. Everybody knows you've got the chops to play.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of you to say. I think hopefully what people are responding to, I can't speak for the audience, but we try to do right by them.
Right.
We try to keep it a wide variety, which means a lot of jazz and soul influence along with other singer-songwriters we like when we do the duo, just for starters. And then when we add pieces on, that can be a fun band when it's a larger version of the duo. And then, because there's all these we've got talented friends, it's fun to make music with them. And then when we do jazz nights, that's a chance to do a much different list.
Right.
And it's good to, those things inform the way we play other things. It informs the way we approach anything from playing the anthem at a ball game to doing the holiday concert. It really does. All that stuff works together. But the Thursday nights, like last Thursday was a fun night because it's, I don't know what we're going to play when we get there. I have an idea on a few songs. We trade notes on here's what we'd like to hit, especially if it's something difficult that we need to put a little time in because we're trying to challenge ourselves.
But you're always open to suggestions. You
Very
play
much
a
so.
lot of requests, and that you kind of have to be, thinking on the feet. But by the same token, with the music backgrounds that you all have, you all seem to make it work one way or another each time.
Yeah. I have a story about a certain request that was made last Thursday, a song Take 5 by Dave Brubeck. If you want to hear this, I'm not going to mention who it was in the Sioux Falls area. He's a media personality, people, that requested this song. But I have a quick family story about it. My father heard Dave Brubeck play Take 5 at his own piano in his house in L.A.
Oh, my.
in like 1965, I want to say. That's kind of fun, isn't it?
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was in college. He was on a college trip, and they were staying on a homestay just a couple doors down from Brubeck. Hey, my neighbor's famous. Let's go over and see him. And he was gracious and played a little piano for them.
Yeah, well, then, of course, it came about at a great time because last week we had 5-4. Of course, most people were thinking, May the 4th be with you.
Is that why you were...
That's not why I requested that song, though, because I knew that Dave Brubeck enjoyed odd musical times.
Yeah. Now, that's
Very strange
That's an
ones.
example of having a wide range of influences. You know who he was? His mentor when he was going to college was this French, basically a classical composer, Darius Milhaud, and who wrote a lot of modern music and acquired a great deal of fame and notoriety in the middle of the 20th century. But he saw in this sort of cadre of young students these possibilities, like, here, listen to this, listen to this. It takes somebody like that to say, listen to this.
See,
Try this out. You've got big ears. You can listen to this.
Yeah. The thing that I always loved about Dave Brubeck is when I first got into radio a jillion years ago and worked what back then were called MOR stations, middle of the road.
Yeah.
Where, in the morning, you'd play Frank Sinatra, Dean, Tony Bennett. And then leading up to the top of the hour, if you didn't time things right, you could always play a little instrumental and so forth. And then in the afternoon, you might get around to the Carpenters. Maybe in the evening hours, you might push the envelope and play Hall & Oates. And, it was just such a phenomenal range of music. Sure. But it taught somebody that was young and basically into rock and roll, the beauty of music. And the Dave Brubeck, when I would play that, it's like, oh, this is awesome. Because, I grew up playing in jazz bands, so I love jazz. And just to have that and, even though I played that lovely instrument called the trombumpator, a valve trombone, but I would be drumming along in the studio and so forth anytime I'd hear this and just loved it.
Brubeck approaches the thing like a guy trained in classical music, whose love is jazz.
Yeah,
that's how. He's got a foot in both worlds when he's playing those songs, especially the album "Time Out," where Take 5 is from, and they're all supposedly. I mean, it's influenced by loving these classical composers like Bela Bartok and Leos Janáček from the 20th century that were getting into folk rhythms. You know what happens when people in the country start singing? They're not necessarily in perfect time. Some of that stuff ends up in 9. It was supposed to be in 8, but they like to hold this note a little bit longer. And when you decide to try to play that, quote, accurately, it results in some very interesting folk music. Yeah. And that's where some of that stuff comes from.
Despite the many versions of that song, none of them are 5 minutes long.
No.
3, 6,
No, you can blow a great horn of plenty on that song.
That's for sure.
Going. Hey, I have a theory about like middle of the road radio. That was back in the era where we had a common ground for what was played on the radio.
True.
Like we knew as a society, because it was a rather new technology, and we had this understanding. Well, these are the famous people. The superstars were the ones where you could sing 12 of their songs, even if you hated them.
Right.
Because you heard them just like when everybody else heard them. You didn't have other options. And it's interesting now that those days are, it's different.
Yeah,
it's a much
there's
different
no
world.
MOR format anymore.
There's no MOR. There's still, people can kind of curate their own lists, and they try to delve into. There's great resources to do all of that.
True. You know, the digital society has made that possible.
And it means you don't have to really know much new music. You can just pick the stuff you like and learn it. You don't need to stay very current.
Okay.
Because,
so speaking of current and new music, what do you look for or listen for when it comes to new that you go, okay, this is something I like, versus going, oh, well, this is just overproduced and over electronic?
I don't have. I'm probably not a great avatar for this question. I think I'm still diving into artists I like that have recorded stuff, getting to know their full catalog more.
Right.
Because there's so much music out there. And I'm, as often as I find a new group, I will find somebody that somehow I've missed. I still have plenty of gaps. You find somebody that you missed, and it locks into place some things you knew about other artists from back in that era. This mostly affects the jazz and R&B and soul worlds. You know, I find these connections where, of course, that's this. Oh, of course. How did I not know this?
Right.
You've done this too. You know, where, how did I know this? There's a few groups I enjoy nowadays, but I tend to not make any recommendations right now. Like, I'm still fired up about the groups I was fired up years ago. I'm just finding new ways to appreciate them.
Well, and you know, the thing is, a lot of them are still putting out new music, or they're getting some of their older stuff released finally. You know, one of my favorite things when it pops up on the phone, you know, to talk about electronics, is when Spotify says, oh, new music from Kenny Loggins, or new music from James Taylor. And it's like, oh, okay. And I go hear that. And, you know, there's so many songs that if you've lived this, you know, a pretty full life and you've been a music lover, that our own catalogs of what we love are so vast. You know, I know that I have, you know, thousands on iTunes. I've got thousands on Spotify. And somebody I talked to recently that's still in radio in town was talking about having over 10,000 just on one platform. And I think in some ways the tough part is when you say, I'm just going to sit down and listen to some music right now. What am I in the mood for? It gets real tough to pick.
It does. That's where that you can play your next song at random. That's where
the shuffles and everything.
The shuffle. Yeah. That's where that comes in handy. When you have, because 10,000, to be honest, sounds a little low.
Oh, really? How many are on yours?
I will not reveal an exact number, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And I know people that have more on their computers. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know anyone, as far as I know, that has a number of songs on their computer greater than the population of Sioux Falls. I'll put it that way.
Wow.
That's a lot of songs.
That's still a lot of songs, yeah.
So, you're not going to listen to all those.
No,
obviously. It means you end up accumulating and sharing and ending up with a lot of music.
All right. Let's kind of revert back a little bit, talk more about COVID and what happened. We talked about the fact you were able to still continue on some things. I know that we did have, Holiday Jam, but in a different fashion than typical. So are we crossing our fingers, knocking on wood, doing whatever we can that it gets back to what it was 2 years ago then?
Ideally, yeah. I think that's the plan. We have dates tentatively lined up, and we have players tentatively ready to go, and we need still some more good news before we can absolutely make all those plans. Well, but that's the idea. Everybody's assuming that will be the case this year.
But that without it being 100% positive puts you in kind of a difficult position because you are working on that show for a long time during the year. That
doesn't really.
Doesn't bother you?
The COVID thing it ended up being more work last year, but that was okay because it was at a time where there was no work to do, so I had time to do it. I ended up arranging enough for a 2-hour broadcast to to perform with the symphony down in Sioux City.
Okay.
That we played with. So that's a lot of music.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, and then we had enough players opt out that weren't able to do the show, that we had to basically rely on things that we had done in the past. None of the music last year was brand new. Mm-hmm. We're looking forward to doing some brand new stuff this year because we'll be able to get together more like normal.
Well, you know, one thing we talked about the first time around, because I think I had you on, it would have been Halloween, but we were talking about the holiday show.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, you don't have a lot of rehearsal time with that because every one of you is professional.
And they're coming from a ways away.
Right. Yeah, so you can't be housing them and taking away from other income from them.
The list of people I'll contact about performing, not everybody will be able to say yes. But it includes Los Angeles, it includes Omaha and Minneapolis, of course, but also Charleston, South Carolina, Nashville, St. Petersburg, Florida, and Scotland, Glasgow, over in Scotland.
Oh, wow.
Glasgow is one of the towns that I will check in with. It's a little bit weird, and they all meet up in Sioux Falls.
And how much time do you have
and we
together?
played Jingle Bells.
I would say it's Jazzy Bells.
That's not a punchline, folks. That's real.
That's real, true. Yeah. But you know, all your different arrangements. What makes it special that you know you take all these songs that are anywhere from 50 to 100 years old,
sure,
and make them special for that event? What's it take?
Well, the most rewarding part, I think, is how good those songs can get when you have excellent players, friends of yours, that take the material in their own hands and they do great work with it. I can probably plan about any song for Allison to sing, for instance,
right,
and she'll do great. It's not, that can make me look good, I suppose, but the thing is, I just want to hear her sing that song. It's fantastic. Wouldn't want to just sit and listen to this all night. And the same goes for a lot of the instrumental performers. It's fun to try to scheme and think of a way to feature them and give them some time on the stage. Because that's part of the balance of the show, is everybody needs to have time to shine.
Right.
That can be tricky to do when you have enough people on stage.
Well, and it gets distributed fairly equitably throughout that show.
Fairly.
Too. Yeah. I mean, it's always been a highlight. It makes our holiday season every year. We love going to that. So now let's take a look as we kind of look for the future, especially summertime.
Sure.
I know that you and your brother are already booked for Friday nights at our wine bar.
Yep.
You're going to be showing up a few Thursdays and so forth.
Yep.
What about other gigs and like Spoon Cat and so forth? Any shows going on there?
We have no Spoon Cat plans at this point.
Really?
Our other brother Jason, fractured his hand.
Oh.
So that affects bass playing a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see with that going forward. I'd love to. We honestly don't have anything on the calendar right now.
Yeah, but otherwise, the booking's been going well?
People, we will head to Omaha quite a bit, do some things in Okoboji.
Mm-hmm.
We go to the hills. There are places we go that aren't just Sioux Falls. But for the most part, it's nice to have that anchor in town throughout the summer. We might look for something else to do on a weeknight for a place that would like to have something its own, where it's not competing with other things, especially when you're in patio season this summer. It's going to be a great, you're already seeing it when it's a nice day out. There's a crush of people going to patios and just enjoying company outside. Majority of these just wanting to get you back regardless and not have to do much marketing to get the gigs? Yeah, I guess not. We haven't gone begging or asking. There's no fixed idea in our mind of what needs to fill up. Usually what happens in the summer, now that we have the Fridays, we take a look at Saturdays for special occasions, private parties, weddings happen, that the types of events that in some cases they were postponed last year. These were events that were already on the calendar for some time in 2020. Yeah. And then they went away. They're doing them again this year, and they didn't forget about us, which is great. So always helps to have repeat customers. So most of the calendar, if you're a professional musician, a lot of the calendar isn't public. It's things that you're doing for a private event or a closed audience. And so people maybe aren't aware of it, but it's still taking a lot of the dates.
What about you on a professional level, from the teaching and so forth to lots of arrangements and so forth? You've had some pretty great things to be able to add to a resume that you've done over the past few years. What's that look like at this point?
Well, 2020 was a rough year.
Yeah.
This year's better.
Okay.
I'm feeling creative now, so I wasn't really last year, for the most part.
It took a lot out of everybody's sales. There's no doubt about that.
I had no sales. Actually, and that's a homonym.
Yes.
I had no sales. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Well, now you've got a new song to write. I had no sales.
About the danger of homonyms. I've been working on that song for 30 years. Good grief.
There are plenty. What are the musical influences that you had early on?
Early on?
When you were a kid versus now. How's that changed?
I had a teacher and then the older brother of a good buddy of mine in Del Rapids that both introduced me to Earth, Wind, and Fire. So that, of course, became, I thought, well, that's how bands should sound. That's how I want the band to sound. And then, so when Spooncat was formed, part of the idea was, we have to have a horn section. So, because that's what Earth, Wind, and Fire has. I sound like I'm 8 describing this, but that was sort of the thought process.
And you had to learn the word badaya.
Yeah, you do. Vocalese, they call that, when you're just singing syllables. The voice is an instrument. So my parents were also big Beatles fans, and so all those things. Basically, I described a song the other day, and this resulted in a spit take. That wasn't my aim, but it's like it's a variation on the old roast joke. I was describing a song we made up, and I said it's like if the Beatles met Earth, Wind, and Fire and had a baby and then kicked it down the stairs. And that... So those were early influences.
Okay.
Now there's all kinds of other influences creeping in from all over the map. It's fun.
Well,
people like Herbie Hancock.
Okay.
He's a piano player. Nina Simone. Just because I don't sing like Nina Simone doesn't mean I can't use things that, and be amazed at how she sings and kind of has the audience in the palm of her hand. Or Igor Stravinsky. You can get this, Johnny Cash. You can get stuff from all over there's stuff to find in almost every good performer. You can find all this stuff to utilize it for your own purposes.
Yeah, the genre doesn't matter.
Not at all.
Yeah, as long as it's good.
Not at all.
Yeah. All right, and you guys continue, whether it's you and John going out as the Hegg brothers, or you got Spooncat, or you got your, tribute band, the Steely Dan and so forth, or anybody else that you happen to be playing along with. Have you ever counted up how many different groups you've ever been associated with?
No, but in a fun twist, this is even somehow makes it sound is weirder. I have counted up. I did so much backing up of 50s and 60s artists when they'd come to this part of the country. Sometimes traveling farther, but a lot of it was when they would come to this part of the country, it would save the promoter the cost of flying a band from the East Coast or from overseas or something. And so we backed up a lot of 50s and 60s artists. And at one point, I think my tally was I played along with the original artists on in the neighborhood of 150 songs that made the top 10 on the Billboard charts. So it's a lot of songs.
That is.
Yeah. So,
but a small percentage of whatever you have on your computer or your tablet or your
small percentage. Yeah. That's more in the Cedar Rapids territory.
What do you hope to accomplish yet?
There's things I'd like to accomplish. I have a wish list of things I'd like to see happen in Sioux Falls, just because I'd like to be a part of it, and I think I would have a voice musically. Oh, I think it'd be fun if just selfishly, I think it'd be fun if a live music club returned on the order of something like the Pom Pom. Doesn't need to be like that, but a live venue that has that energy and that focus, because it would work.
Yeah,
it would take money, and it doesn't come without the changes that have happened from 22 years ago when that place closed its doors.
Because there have been a lot of things leading up that could make that happen.
Yeah. So I'd like to see that, because I think it'd be fun to hold court on a stage like that in town. That'd be good fun. I would like to see in a year of some of the things that went away kind of came back. And if there's new energy for new things, there's undoubtedly going to be new energy for new things. What those opportunities are. I'm open to opportunities, which is fun. My future and my fall schedule looks a lot different than I thought it would a year ago. And in a year, that conversation would probably go the same way. Yeah, it'll change again.
Yeah. All right. So on to baseball before we get to our two regular end of the interview questions.
I have a question for you, too.
Okay.
But
Fire
not
away.
yet. I'm not
You
not
sure?
Yet. I'm
Okay.
going to do it at the
All
end
right.
when you do your questions. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Look forward to it. So, you're a big Twins fan.
Yeah.
I'm a big Cubs fan. They do play each other a couple of games.
Yeah.
It's the end of August, 1st of September, I think,
Mm-hmm.
those 2 dates. I'm hoping that, by then that maybe there's more tickets available because they open things up. And get to that. I've already taken the time off from the regular job for it. But what do you think about the Twins this year? They're not doing well at this point, but any hope for a decent season?
They're a good team that's played badly. I am confused and disappointed by how injured the team tends to be. I wish they were healthy. But I think they're still a good team, off to a bad start. That might be enough to make it a lost season of sorts, but it's still early. It's not that.
Right. Just, a month and a half in at this point.
Yeah,
So there's plenty to go. No doubt about that.
If they play, it's not even a month and a half yet. They have plenty of time. They've played a fifth of the season, basically.
But at least we have a full season that we're going to talk about this year.
It's great.
Yeah.
Think about those players it's a finite career. You don't get your age 22 or age 25 body back for a year if you've gone through that shutdown type thing. It's just lost time.
Great statistic I heard. Because last year was so interesting with the 60 games and so forth, was that last year 5 of the teams that made the postseason did not bat .235 or better.
Oh, yeah.
That's an interesting. Obviously, last year was strange, but it seems to be that we're it's a home run or not.
Pitchers are throwing harder than ever.
Throwing harder. Yeah, it's just it's a huge thing right now. What do you think baseball? Because they always talk about, well, we got to do this, we got to do that, and we've had the induction of the extra inning, start with a man on second base, type of thing, and so forth. What do you think baseball needs to do to bring back baseball?
I think there are a couple things that get floated around that would be pretty easy. Well, I shouldn't say this because I think they've been tried and it hasn't gone well. But if you watch footage from a game from the 70s or 80s, you'll be struck by how quickly the game moves between pitches. Pitchers just don't. They generally don't even leave the mound and wander around. There's a time limit. There's supposed to be a time limit that's enforced between pitches. That would speed up the game. That's the thing that's adding the most time.
That and in the batter's box, not having to step out, take time between every pitch to readjust your batting gloves.
Yep, make it so that there's a time limit. If the batter isn't back in the box and hasn't called for time, the pitcher can pitch.
And throw a
You
strike.
see that once in a while where they'll throw a pitch and they call a strike just to look. We're playing. The game's on here. Go ahead, come on. And so that would be one way to do it. The main reason the games are long, of course, is because other than those delays, it's because we're learning more in the science and the math. It's clumsy, but can result in, for some people, a more beautiful game. For some people, they say, I miss the old days. But we are studying things like launch angles, spin rate on curveballs. We are studying what force you land with on your leg that stretches when you pitch, to finish out your motion, and trying to reduce that torque by like 3%. Because it's robbing your breaking ball of this much movement at the end of the pitch. And it's the difference between being a career minor leaguer and maybe making a bullpen in the major leagues. Those kind of things just result in a slower game. There's positioning. It's resulting in the lower batting averages, more strikeouts.
Shifting.
Pitchers are now, this happens in the NBA too. There's generally more energy. It's focused on things that previously we didn't have the science behind. We didn't know this happening. It will happen even more in football. It is harder to tell because of the compartmentalization of the game, and they're running into each other. But it's still happening there. This is just the way sports is because we have data that shows
the technology.
This is a better way to do
data.
it.
Yeah.
This is just a better way to do it.
Very true.
And it's not always, it's fun to watch somebody build a car with their hands, but that's not the best way to do it.
All right. Final questions.
Yeah.
Always like to end with a couple things. And first being, when you're not out performing, what do you like to be entertained by?
Oh, I like to go see like soul music. I'd like to go see soul. Yeah, soul music is my favorite. Otherwise, I want to go hear somebody that I can really learn something from and be kind of awed by. I used to get worried about hearing players that were so good because it would make me think I can't do that. But I'm not worried about that. I'm aware of the things I can't do, and now I just want to hear them because it's a joy to hear stuff that's done so well. So.
And then the final question is, any other hobbies?
Any other hobbies? Oh, reading and goofy stuff. Most of my hobbies are music related, though.
Okay.
A lot of word games and crossword puzzles.
I'm a big
life of the
crossword
mind
puzzle.
type stuff.
I like crossword puzzles.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
And I enjoy good conversations.
That's always a plus.
I
isn't
like
it?
those. Yeah,
that is for sure. All right, fire away. You said you had one.
My
for
question for you is: I first got to know you going back to the radio voice that emerged at the beginning of this interview as soon as you pushed record. And I was, so I got to know you first from your voice. And I'm curious what you feel your most enduring or notorious impression is that you do with your voice. What's your go-to? Like, you can only do one.
Oh, if I can only do one.
It's an unfair question, I know.
Yeah, it is. If it's just like one line or something.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, then it would be Sean Connery as Henry Jones Sr. That's his name, Henry Jones Jr. We named the dog Indiana.
Yes. You're welcome, audience. That's good.
Singing-wise, though?
Oh, yeah.
Louis.
Oh, nice.
I see trees of green.
That's good.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that song that he did for the ill-fated, the one Bond movie in the early 70s that George Lazenby was the Bond, that Australian bodybuilder? Wasn't he like a Mr. Universe contestant or something? Yeah, and Louis did a song for that that was, we have all the time in the world. And have you ever sung that one?
It's
not in any of the karaoke books.
Yeah, see, that's why. It's got to be in the karaoke.
The bodybuilder.
Yeah.
If they'd had Connery, that'd probably be in the...
All right. Jeremy Hegg, always a pleasure. And thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate it. We'll be back to wrap up the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment. Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony provide professional care for your hands and feet, whether you just want the basics or an extra special look with added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails. Call for an appointment. 605-334-1463.
From the Dipsy Doodle Studios at the world headquarters of Big D Entertainment, a 40-square-foot home studio in the middle of America, it's Dave Holly.
Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate every single one of you that listens, downloads, or you stream however you get this product. We certainly appreciate it. And I hate to use the word product, really. It's a podcast. That's the actual name. It's the Dave Holly Hour podcast. But what it is, it's a way for you to find out what's going on in the entertainment world around the greater Sioux Falls, South Dakota area. Also, it's just a way for you to find out, what's going on with the people that are performing for you and make all that art and entertainment possible. So thanks again to Jeremy Hegg of the Hegg Brothers, to my buddy Ryan Fossum from Basement Dwellers Improv, and also, of course, those conversations were recorded at 9th and Phillips in the lobby between our good friends at Wood Grain Brewery, Frontier Bank, and Aquafresh. Thank you to all of them that helped me provide those conversations for you. But again, thank you most of all. The likes, the shares on social media, everything else, and the numbers continue to climb on the downloads overall. I am very happy, and so thank you for making me happy. Now, if you're wondering what the weekend entails, actually, we're going to go even a little bit beyond the weekend. I'm going to tell you what's coming up. First of all, Friday night, I will be, the ruggedly handsome trivia host, will be at the Sky Lounge in Tea, South Dakota, hosting wild card trivia. Yeah, the 3 big prizes up for grabs, as usual for the top 3 teams, but wild card, every team has a chance of beating the dealer of trivia as well. And then Saturday night, Miss Carries and I will be headed to the great outdoors next to the wonderful place called the Washington Pavilion, where the incredible group, the Goodnight Theater Collective, is going to be performing The Fantastics. And I know it's a pun, but I just have the feeling it's going to be fantastic. And then, next Tuesday night, it's the season opener of the Sioux Falls Canaries, and they're at home. And if you happen to be vaccinated, guess what? Canaries are getting you into that game free. Make sure you take your vaccination cards along with you to the Birdcage coming up next Tuesday. That's going to wrap things up for this week, episode 79, now in the books. Thanks again to all of you. Remember, I'm Dave Holly, and for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holly Hour has been brought to you by the Sky Lounge and Tea, XL Chiropractic, and Quality Nails. If you would like to contribute to the continued success of this podcast, go to DaveHollyHour.com. At the bottom of the front page is the additional links section. Click on the orange button, Dave Holly on Linktree. You can order merchandise, become a Dave Holly Hour VIP, and make contributions to the show. The Dave Holly Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.